Hello and welcome. My name is David Ridgway and this is Kirklees Local Television's weekly wind-up, where we bring you a digest of the weekly news. We aim to be informative, interesting, amusing and provocative. We will be discussing three special topics this week. Has political correctness gone too far? Cycling with Le Grand Depart this weekend. Has all the hype and activity been worth it? And does Britain today have a problem with white working class boys? To help me with these weighty topics, my guests are Callum Knight from Oldham, Pastor Napier, a well-known local person.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And Carl Warwick, my mate from Marsden, and indeed a colleague on this show. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, David.
But we always need feedback from you. The weekly wind-up can be contacted by email on info@kirkleeslocaldv.com, and on Twitter you can search weekly wind-up. There we are. And so to our first topic. Has political correctness gone too far?
Being English, and we're in an English country, I just need to go straight to the dictionary. It's the avoidance of forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against. It is something to protect every single person in society. But sometimes I do get the feeling that we are just taking it a step too far, in that we are encroaching on people's civil liberty and our right to be ourselves sometime. You know, we soon can't call people fat. Well, I'm going to take out fat out of the dictionary. I don't have any objection with anybody calling me black. I'm a black person. And it's how far do we go with this sort of correctness that is going to make us look stupid? Because political correctness is here to stay, and we've got to protect people. But in my private conversation with you, can't I say something that is comical for me and you?
Why has it got to be private?
Well, because if you come out, the media is going to blow it. And then it's going to be taken out of context.
That's what I mean about it being subjective.
That's
absolutely
right.
So. Now then, let me ask you this. Is it a modern version of good manners, or are good manners something completely different? Kyle?
I think certainly good manners are something different to political correctness. I think there's a difference between humorous and doing something for the purpose of being offensive. And I think that's when you step over the line of what is acceptable and what is politically incorrect. If you're just going out of your way to insult somebody, then you should be, that's not right. It's demeaning somebody else.
If you want to go out of your way to insult somebody, you want to go out of your way specifically to insult somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's nothing to do with political correctness or not. That's because you want to be insulting to that person.
Well, I think not necessarily. I think there's comedians. Jimmy Carr's one who does a bit about political correctness and taste, and how a joke that he does in between him and an audience, the audience laughing at it is dependent on their taste, and that is the same with political correctness. Really, it's what your background is, where you come from, what you see as acceptable to say to somebody else. But it's when you step over that line of offending somebody that...
Well, the big news in the media this week is the new series of shows and revival of Monty Python. Is Monty Python's Flying Circus politically incorrect?
Yeah, I don't think it's politically incorrect, because it's
massively politically incorrect, but it doesn't stop being funny.
But it's politically incorrect making fun
of society,
but in a flying way. It's not meant to hurt anyone's feelings.
I watched a programme on this last night just by chance, and there was a cut. I didn't know this, that John Cleese and Graham Chapman were very good friends and wrote a lot of their stuff together until Graham Chapman died. At his funeral, John Cleese made a speech, and in that speech he said that Graham Chapman was really proud to be the first person to use the SH1T word on national television. John Cleese then said he was going to be the first person at a memorial service to use the F word. And the whole audience just fell about. Is that acceptable? Is that politically correct? Is that a suitable standard of behaviour?
And to be honest, David, I mean, if we take Callum's point that political correctness or anything, we have to look at it from a subjective point of view.
Yeah.
Because one man's meat is another man's poison.
Yeah.
And we cannot please everybody. The whole root of political correctness is to correct people so that we do not hurt, injure, or damage people, self-confidence, or whatever it is about them. We have to protect that. But having a bit of comic, which Great Britain is known for, we are a very funny society. And I have to agree with Kyle. Good manners and political correctness are spectrum wide apart. We are a country and a bedrock of good manners. Most countries learn from us and our principles and standards here. We've got good mannerism here. It's political correctness that is taking things to the next level.
So, if a man stands up on the tube to give a pregnant woman his seat and gets castigated by the pregnant woman as being demeaning to her, is that political correctness being taken too far? This has actually happened to me.
Well, to be honest with you, if that's the case, I mean, then I'd probably be quite politically incorrect, because it's just polite. It's good manners to offer somebody who, a pregnant lady, for instance, standing up on a moving bus that's rattling about, not going to be good for ankles, knees, etc. So it's just good manners. That person has stepped over the line by castigating you for offering you a seat. So then castigate her back.
And to be frank, David, is it the male ego that has been so hurt because we offer a woman a seat and she does not adjust to our kindness? We need just to hush our ego and don't let that stop us from being kind to the next pregnant woman who might willingly jump in your lap.
Well, I think as well, it's it's about good manners then on the side of the person that you are offering it to, realising that you aren't offering her that seat to demean her. And for me, it wouldn't just be a pregnant lady, or I'd offer my seat to
like opening a door.
Exactly.
And you just had to be at the door first.
If I get to the door first, I offer the door to anybody.
I want to ask you a question. I'm sorry to jump across you there, Carl, but I want to ask you a question. I was just going to make some comment here that we all deplored the apartheid regime in South Africa, and more so in a way the separate buses for black and white school children in the southern United States, which led in some respects to the civil rights movement. But do those now historical actions have an echo today in schools in Birmingham where girls are segregated from boys? Is this politically correct?
Well, I'd say it's political correctness is defined by the society that you live in. So to me, segregation in schools isn't right, but then you have whole school segregations in Catholic schools where there's all girls in a school. So to just, it's...
I went to an all-boys school.
Exactly, and there's many people that went to a same-sex school.
And to quote a really well-known phrase, didn't do me any harm. But we'll take a break there. Yeah. Thank you to our panellists for a fascinating conversation. I'm not sure whether we've bottomed this matter, but you can add to this debate by contacting us on email at info@kirkleeslocaltv.com and searching on Twitter at Weekly Windup. Welcome back. Cycling. It's loved by the Green Lobby and promoters of good health, but cyclists are apparently disliked by so many motorists. Do you think that bringing the Tour de France to Yorkshire, and particularly to Huddersfield, will increase cycling as a health activity? Kyle?
I think it's already been seen. There's a lot more people riding around on bikes, especially the more specialised road bikes. I think those have become more prevalent. So yeah, I think it's something
Is there another type of bike?
There's mountain bikes, yeah.
Oh, I see.
And there's BMXs and there's tricycles.
BMXs?
Yeah, BMX. Tricycle into bike, I suppose, technically. But
that's a trike.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is as a health activity. It's becoming more prevalent in the area. Whether it'll carry on after the Tour de France has passed is I'll wait to see, because I think there's a lot of activities that were taken up after the Olympics that didn't really snowball like they thought they would.
Callum, you've come across today from Oldham. Are you, is your locality over there getting excited and worked up about the Tour de France and Le Grand Depart?
I think to a certain extent, yeah. Maybe not as much as over this side of the Pennines, but the in Rochdale, which is that side, the Tour de France is coming through there. So yeah, there is an excitement, yeah, as well, yeah.
I didn't know that.
There is an excitement, but I don't think it's as on a higher level as it is here.
Okay. Now then, Pastor, will the increase of visitors compensate for the planned disruption to our daily lives on Sunday?
I think those of us from West Yorkshire should be really proud to attract one of the greatest modern event that is taking place. And I want to see Huddersfield and West Yorkshire filled from side to side. It's one day we're going to see an increase of income. We're going to see people enjoying it, and of course we need to start biking more. We are clogging the streets with too many cars, and we need to see cycling as the way out of some of this sort of misery that we are in. So well done to the committee and those who organize this great event, and I am sure it will put West Yorkshire on a different map.
So, Pastor, you say that you're very keen on your cycling. Do you think that the local authorities should provide more cycle lanes?
Well, I think that's something that has to be properly planned. Our roads are not wide like the USA and other parts of Europe, and we are not really a cycling fanatic at the moment. But given time, we've got to create, if we're going to encourage people to cycle, we've got to do what most countries in Europe are doing, making special allowances for cyclists.
Okay, well, if we're going to be making allowances for cyclists to the detriment of the motorist, obviously because the space is the same, and as the motorists pay road tax to utilise that space, Callum, do you feel that cyclists should be encouraged to pay some form of tax?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, because...
Defend it then.
Well, because if there's more cycle lanes, that doesn't necessarily mean it's on the road. There's areas of Britain now that have a lot of cycle lanes as part of maybe a wider pavement.
Yep.
So half of it will take up what would have been a pavement, but it is a cycle lane. So it's technically not the road. And I just don't think it's, if we're trying to encourage people to pick up cycling, to then make them pay a tax, that's surely discouraging them.
Is it not logical that a cyclist should demonstrate their proficiency to be cycling on the road, to demonstrate their awareness? I'll bring you in a moment, Carl.
I think it's just how a person uses their bike.
Kyle, what do you feel about this?
Well, I just think that certainly with my nieces, there's at juniors and infant schools, there's a lot more interaction with bikes. There's a lot more teaching young people how to use bikes around roads safely, and I think it's something that it should be a joint thing between school and parents, teaching kids at a young age how to use bikes safely. I think if you start putting people through tests for bikes, then you're going to start putting people through tests for crossing the road, and
it might be quite helpful, really.
Yeah, well, but it's something that should be taught by parents and by schools, and I think more and more it is something that is being taught in schools.
Well, do you think that the tour coming here has been a phenomenon that we should all embrace, because its like will not be seen in this locality again?
I feel
one answer.
Yes.
Yeah?
I will wrap myself in all the flags, yes.
Right.
Definitely, yeah.
Good, sir. Right, we're going to move straight on to our last topic of the week, which is white working class boys. What does white working class boys mean? Is it a politically incorrect phrase? Maybe it is. Sadly, I think we all know what we mean by it. But there's a section of society that is underachieving, and should we investigate to try and resolve this? Pastor?
David, in all honesty, political correctness is going to kill us somewhere along the line. We have always been a class-structured society. As long as we understand what working class means, which is just typical laboring, you're working for a wage. And it could be in the industry or in somewhere in the workforce that gives you an income. And whether or not we are white or black or blue, it is something that we've got to continue to embrace. There is something that is called working class.
I'm working class because I work for a wage.
Right, but there is also the stigma that is attached to working class that says these are underachievers, these are low status education people, these are the people.
Who's created that?
Well, the society, because if you've got upper class, blue colored, white colored worker that we classify them, who are pen pushers, yeah, but we need to know also that we need the food and we need the other industry that is going to keep them going. And I think that is where we're having the problem, where we use these terms and we are declassifying people. And I think that's where we're in trouble.
Kyle?
I think a lot of it has to do with expectations. I know, like in general, just for working class people, I think expectations have been set too high. I mean, certainly for me, I came through high school under a Tony Blair Labour government being told that every possibility for any job that I wanted was possible.
That's right.
And if I trained in the right way, then I could go out and get any job that I wanted. By the time that I'd left university, there was 15,000 people that qualified with exactly the same degree that I had, going into a pool of 300 to 400 jobs. So it's about expectations. If you set people's expectations,
did Mr. Blair lie?
I think that he made a lot of promises, didn't follow through on those promises.
Sounds like
that can be across the board. I wouldn't say lying. I'd say it's political.
And you're right about that.
Okay, Callum, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And as Kyle says, under Tony Blair government, and I don't believe that he was lying, all politicians do it. You all want to be stayed elected, and you give us all these big carrots and all these big grapes, and no, sometimes they're filled with worms. There's no hole in them, and because you all want to stay elected. It's not lie that they're lying, but they've got to do something to motivate, encourage, and aspire. There's not gloom and doom all the time with our political heroes and sheroes.
Okay, Carl?
I think from my point of view, like, if you're told that everything is going to come easy to you and you're going to be able to get those jobs easily, then you're less likely to put in the maximum amount of effort. But at the same time, when it doesn't come easily to you, you'll still be disillusioned, you'll still be disappointed, and that can lead to depression and etc. If you're told it's going to be hard, you work hard from the beginning, you push yourself, and you do it the best you can.
And yet there are icons in society today who come from the same backgrounds as we all have here in Huddersfield, that have aspired and achieved that aspiration. Look at Bob Cryan at Huddersfield University. Look at Alan Sugar.
And that's what we need to do, because there is a value on every person's
And do you think that the comments that were put forward by the Tony Blair government that everybody who wants to go to university should go to university actually was denigrating to those who couldn't or didn't want to?
I think it was certainly led to a situation where we had not enough people going into vocational activities, vocational learning. But now I think it's swung round completely to the opposite extent, to where people are being priced out of university and forced into apprenticeships.
Yes, indeed.
But David, we also have to believe that it was a push also, because the government could not find enough jobs for those who were leaving schools and colleges. And so university was an exit route also.
Yeah, but it was only postponing them not getting a job.
Yeah, but at least it kept the employment figures down politically.
I think
that's heavily political.
Yeah.
I'm glad we have a politician on the board.
And as a final statement from me, I think really what young people want is the reality of a situation. Yes. They don't want things.
We could discuss this topic all day. Sadly, our time is up. Thank you to all our panellists this week. Callum, thanks for coming over from Oldham and being dropped in at the deep end. I hope you've enjoyed your experience here today. Yeah. My friend Pastor,
It's a delight to work
Carlton
with you.
Napier, thank you
It's a
so much for
delight.
coming on again. And Kyle, I'll be seeing you later on.
Thank you, David. See ya.
We've enjoyed a fascinating exchange of views and we hope that you will add your comments. You can contact us by email on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com and search for us on Twitter @weeklywindup. Thanks, see you next week.